certain little groups that are just like on the same little.
Yeah.
I remember someone, I can't remember who said it actually. They were like, imagine a building and everyone on the first floor is connected, everyone on the second floor is connected, everyone on the third floor. So you and I are on whichever floor, and it
It
just
sounds like
never
fractals.
fails.
Like we're on the same fractal. Of course we are though, because like anyone in your life, like you know them for a reason. You have a connection for a reason. You see them for a reason. You have a relationship for a reason. Like the human won't always know why. I mean, you could feel certain things, you can have certain knowings, but like your mind isn't going to necessarily, we don't really know the whole story because we can't, because I don't think we can understand it in this form. Like our consciousness, came into this form, but it's much bigger than this form. It's much more vast. It's connected to God, all that it is. So it's not going to like, I don't know. We're like, bloop.
Oh yeah, totally.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm having a conversation with a good friend, Karina, and she's asking me all different questions about human design and bringing it into the real world. She always asks really good questions. She's a manifestor, a 5/1 being, emotional. I just enjoy chatting with her, and I hope you guys get something out of the conversation. If you want to support the podcast, like, subscribe, comment, thumbs up, share it. All those things help. Thanks, guys. See you there. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. And for those that are tuning in and that are new, my name is Karina, and I am checking in with my friend Cass because I always have a million questions for her. And I feel like she's such a blessing to like be able to tune in with and kind of ground everyone and put everything in perspective and in such a beautiful way. And so I was dying to like have this time with you because I have so many questions, like even after like being part of the class that we did for human design and then bringing everything to life again. I feel like it's important to like have these check-ins, kind of like an electrical plug going into the socket, so like you can get the juice that you need back. And so I'm really excited to ask you all these questions and like get perspective, and then offer it to other people too that are like finding their way in this stuff. So thank you
Well,
for the time.
thank you for being here to ask me some questions.
Yes, totally. So how are you doing, and how do you feel about like bringing the design? I think you're past your seventh year or so, like
In
in
my
the process
like
itself.
yeah, actually in March was the
March.
completion of
So
my 7th year.
So please, like, shine some light on that because a lot of people are like 7 years. Like, how does that? What does that mean? And what does that look like for a person like that's trying to actively and not even necessarily knowing fully what they're doing, but they're trying to get it going. And so, what does that mean for people?
Well, I hear Ra's voice, which is like funny because he was always like, when people come to me, they'd be like, Ra, I finished my 7th year. And he's like, and like, so what? What?
Plug.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Step one. But it speaks to a cellular cycle. So like approximately 7 years, we complete a cellular cycle. And so it's like when you've been experimenting with living as yourself for 7 years, which I kind of feel like it's a little longer than that if I really think about it, because it was like I was living or trying to respond before that, but it was a little bit different. It became more like nuanced and more aware with human design. But that's actually what led me to human design, was like being in response. And 7 year cycle is basically just like you have 7 years of deconditioning, kind of making decisions from your mind. And obviously, while you're doing that, you're still making decisions from your mind. You're not like perfectly living your design. But it's like basically after 7 years is over, it's almost like strategy and authority just become second nature. So, like strategy and authority are like making decisions as yourself. I'm a generator, so I'm here to respond, and I'm emotional. So, like, I feel out my sacral response over time. And that's really natural now. I would say most all of my big decisions for sure are made that way. And like my mind still has its piece, of course, but it's fun to be like, we'll see mine. Probably not. Probably not right.
That's a lot. Like, I feel like I started when I can't even remember. I think you posted Kanye West as like his chart or something like that. And I was like, what's she talking about? Let's figure this out. And so I think that was like 2019, 2020 or so. And I, since then, and learning and like applying everything from my body graph or like the understanding and the living of it is just the authority for sure has like changed everything. Like I used to even say, like, am I bipolar? Why am I going through these depressions? And I'm like, oh no, I'm an emotional. So I'm supposed to. It's where my power and my depth and understanding things in a very, very deep way comes from. And so it's a gift really. And I learned to like tune into it. And I learned to like I can even feel like a little light switch going off when it goes away and it comes back. And so I feel that when you give that to someone, even if it's a first reading or they're trying to figure it out, it's like really powerful. And it sounds like it's like what's been the most pivoting for you in your 7 year cycle. So, how do you think, or what do you think people should take away the most when they're like starting this journey and they're learning their chart and they're trying to live with their authority? Like, what is like for you the most important thing to like constantly keep in your mind and aware of? Like, let's say someone's asking you, because of course we know that authority comes when you're having big decisions in your life, but like, what about the little tiny questions where you're like, wait, I'm supposed to tune in and decondition from all this? Like, what do I do? And so, what do you think we could do about that?
Oh, say some more. Slow. So like, what do you like? I'm not sure.
So I Yeah. So for example, I try to do things and in obviously if you're used to doing it a certain way, it's like a very natural thing to do. So for example, for a projector, it's not so just natural for them to just get up and go and get going on things. And so how do you, let's say the projector started to learn their design and they're so
Mhm.
used to doing everything and getting up and going, but now they're supposed to wait for the invitation. So how, or process it through their authority, even if they're waiting for the invitation. So, how can they start slowly applying their design and falling into with their not just 7 year cycle, but with just being active in their deconditioning, if
Yeah,
it
so
makes more sense?
it's definitely like a thing where when you say projector, I'm like, okay, yeah, there, because there's like differentiation obviously between different types. Like generators, obviously you just start responding. So it's like you can respond to anything. You can respond
Yeah.
to the sound outside, you know. With a projector where you're waiting for the recognition, projectors can do whatever they want to do while they wait. And usually a kind of like general guidance is like um, to do and engage in things that they're interested in. So like projectors are really here to learn about like a system or something that they really need to study or to like get the intricacies of. Studying their kind of thing that interests them is like really what propels them forward to be recognized, you know, so that people can see that they like see something special and uniquely and deeply. Um, so it's almost like if you're a projector and nothing's happening, like a general rule is like just study. Like study your thing. Study the thing that
I like
you're
that.
really like, you know, that could also apply to first lines, right? But like especially first line projectors, you know? So it's like just study your system, study the thing that you're interested in. And like a lot projectors kind of are going with the flow of who's around them too. So like being aware of taking stock of in your life who truly like recognizes you, right? And investing in those relationships and not trying hard in the ones where you actually don't have a genuine recognition and just allow them to vibrate out if that's what's correct or you know maybe just have it the relationship it is what it is, right? And so investing in the relationships where you do feel that recognition, that genuine recognition. Projectors kind of need to know themselves in terms of their design. Like they need to like kind of understand their channels, their life force, so that they can be correctly recognized, right? Like if you're open ego projector, you don't want someone recognizing you for your willpower because that would be a projection. It wouldn't be correct. It would be like someone recognizing you for something you aren't, or you don't want to be recognized for being a really hard worker because you have an open sacral, right? So um,
That makes sense because
knowing
then
what your
also
life
it's
force
like the
is.
projection, like they'll fall on. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because usually it's just somebody like you're amplifying what they have, and what they're recognizing is themselves amplified, not you. Like if you have an
Right.
open head, open ajna, and you're a projector, and someone's like, I love the way you think. It's like really what they're saying is, I love the way I think and how it.
How it sounds coming out from you.
So, yeah, just those things.
Okay. And so I guess it's not, it doesn't have to be as complex of like, I got to get a million readings before so I can understand everything. Just like applying that, getting busy studying, I guess, getting
Knowing,
in.
yeah,
I
for
remember.
projectors, just know your channels, like know what centers you have defined and lean into that as your genius. I mean, that's true for everyone in a way,
Yeah.
too.
I love something that always resonates. And by the way, for those that don't know, I'm a manifestor. So, but I love projectors. I like the majority of the people
Yeah.
around me that I really connect with the most are projectors. And I feel like it's almost like a little hard for them from all the energy types because they're the ones that feel like no matter what, there's like this wall that they hit. I mean, in my experience, because I have a lot of people
Hmm.
that like
Hmm.
don't necessarily apply the design. And so I love them so much because something that resonates a lot is they're like the gurus. They're going to be the teachers that like specialize in whatever it is that they love to do. And then they teach everyone how to do it and they have so much passion around it. And so I love that because it's like, how do you tell someone, well, you have to wait for the invitation? And they're literally like, wait, what do I do in the meantime? Like study, get better, get more, um, just engaged. If it's human design, learn more of it. And actually have a friend that she's doing it right now. She's like, and she's a projector and she's found a lot of like hesitation and resistance in her life. So now she's putting all her energy on this and I'm really excited for her. But it literally is just what you said. So how about for like a manifester or let's say for any of the other energy types? Like how would you tell them maybe one at a time so it can come to life for whoever's listening?
Okay. So for manifestors, it's like really following your urge and like thinking about, okay, so manifestors aren't going to necessarily be as needed to like go deep in their human design. They can if they want, if it's an interest. If it's not, don't worry about it. It's like, whereas like maybe as a projector, you might still want to know design, even if it's not your place of study. You know what I mean? Um, Manifestors, it's really about honoring the urges, which is difficult in a world that like almost kind of makes you have to ask for permission in a way, you know? So like the manifestor strategy is the only strategy that is not like a natural one. So it's almost like you have to like think about it and bring awareness to it really is better is a better way of saying it. Not necessarily think about it, but like bring awareness to when you move, you impact people. That's what you're here for. You're here to impact. Like manifestors are here to lead, to impact, and to live in peace ultimately, right? And through living in peace, and they have impact. And they have it anyways, right? So it's really about being aware of who's going to be impacted around you and informing them and not asking for permission. That creates resistance for manifestors when you ask for permission or you shrink yourself or you try to like figure out how to like, but it's like your power is in just informing, which is not a natural strategy. So it's like a strategy that takes like finesse and like trial and error, you know, like everything takes trial and error, but like
Feel like there's like a beauty to that too because you're putting so much energy already on like deconditioning and working on yourself and trying to like find the parts of you like you because it's funny that how everything that's like perfect and like part of your being and what you came here to do is a lot of the times what people learn to kind of like quiet down and calm down. And so I feel like if you're a manifester and you're feeling like now you have to learn to inform or you're also learning to learn your design and like come up in that way. So I feel like it's like a nice reminder of that that's what you need to do. But totally, I do believe that it's a very not it's not a natural thing for us to do because without realizing you're just like, well, I can see the path there. Like, excuse me, I'm going through. Like, and so now you have to like, oh, actually, I want to go that way. I'm just wondering if it's possible you can, so it's just, it has a little bit of a resistance to it, but it's a beautiful resistance, is what I've come to learn.
but also that is the conditioning is that you have to ask for permission. Where it's like the difference is like the informing is different than asking for, excuse me, I have to go that way. Well, actually, that's informing. It's interesting. Informing is not natural, like for
No, it
anyone.
totally.
And in some ways it can be, I guess, too, because there's ways in which I'm like, huh, I inform like these things, even though these people aren't manifestors, because informing actually, it's a strategy. It's something that works for everybody. Like it works to be informed in my experience for everyone. Like nobody wants to be told what to do. generators,
Right.
we like to respond, but at the same time, I like being informed as what it feels like respect, right? Like, but anyway, my daughter's a manifestor, you know this. So it's hilarious to watch her as a toddler because, well, one, I love having the awareness that she's a manifestor. Because like mostly I just
Let
let
her,
her do her thing and
yeah,
I
you let her
like,
be.
yeah, and she like she's at peace. Mostly she's at peace. Like she just kind of does her thing. And like every now and then I like ask her, like I can do that because like Thad's a responder. And so I'm like, I'll like ask her just like silly things to respond to. And then eventually she gets sick of needing to respond and she like has a resistance and I just laugh. And then she laughs with me because I'm like, what am I doing now? And it's a reminder, like you meet a resistance and it's like, oh yeah, why am I asking you to respond? Like it takes more energy for her almost. Like
Yeah.
it's like not natural to be like, you know. Um, and so sometimes she'll just say no now that she's two. Like it's just a no. And I just start laughing. I'm like,
That's also their favorite word. So,
yeah, yeah, it is. But it's like, oh, I wonder how many like are manifestors and where that comes from. Because it's like, okay, I'm sick of being asked to respond, you know? Um, and then I will be like, okay, how can I reframe this to an inform? And it's not natural, but it
no.
works. It releases the resistance because then she'll like rather than being like telling her what to do or asking her if she wants like, do you want to get in the bath? Do you want bubbles? Or because like that's how I get Thad to do things. I'll be like, do you want to do a bubble bath or a regular bath? Do you want to do a fizzy
Yeah.
bomb or like, you know, like, and then he like will
Right.
choose one. And so instead of her, I'm like, okay, how can I actually inform her? And like, it's different, right? Like, it's time to take a bath, or like, we take a bath so we can wash all of our stuff off of our body. And then she'll like be climbing in, right? Because it's like, I'm just telling her
I love
something.
that. I
But
have so many questions, Kat. Like, and I want to like honor all the other energy types that we haven't gotten
yeah, yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
but at the same time, I want to like interrupt you on
Well, interrupt
what
and
you're saying because it's like
it's helpful to have
you.
a manifestor here. Well, yeah, you
No,
know?
but at the same time, what I'm saying is like I don't want to break the flow because it's going beautifully, but at the same time, it's like I need to ask, how can parents having two different energy types, some houses four or five, how does the mom respond to so many different energy types coming at you and going out at the same time while also regulating herself and making sure she's coming from the right energy type for herself. So what can you like? I feel like this is maybe the biggest question right now because the whole human design is for the children to grow up and
Right.
be a deconditioned world with children that are in the proper energy space for themselves. But like, what? How do we fix that right now with all these parents that are bringing their children up and you're doing it so gracefully? But like, how can you? What's a piece of advice you can give parents to be able to do that?
Oh man, that's
I
such a big
know,
question.
I know,
I feel like one, definitely just like being correct yourself. So like if I'm meeting a ton of resistance, it's a signal, right? Like if you're meeting resistance with your kid, pause. Okay, am I being correct? Right? If I'm as a generator, because I had a manifestor mom. So like, and I feel like parenting in general is kind of almost trains the general to be almost a little bit of a manifestor in the way that you parent. I don't know, maybe that's just my conditioning. I don't know, whatever. But I would initiate a lot of things and meet resistance and be so frustrated. And then I'd be like, wait, okay, I'm frustrated. Okay, I'm being not self. Okay, where am I not being correct? Okay, I'm initiating this, right? Like instead of waiting and responding to the dirty body that needs a bath and then informing or giving an option. So it's like knowing your kids, knowing your design, and being aware of like taking the resistance in life as a signal, a signpost. Like, okay, where is the energy not being used correctly? You know, like
right.
where is it? I don't know, that's a general statement.
No, and also
But
to like,
it is complex to have four
yeah,
and to five and six, right?
yeah,
And
right.
like all of the complexities of life, but everything stacks on itself or it spirals, right? So it's like the energy going in the right direction of correctness helps, right? It like makes it easier. And then the energy going the other way makes it harder So if you can like pause it when it's going in a wrong direction and go and reassess, like where, okay, what's going on and
Which
meeting
is
this
interesting
resistance.
because if you really think about it, I feel like parents think that their voice has to be the authority or the guiding voice because they're the ones that know better. But if you're
That's the
doing something, it
conditioning.
takes less energy to just pivot and do it the right way so that you
Totally.
can work with the child in the way that they need or to honor them in general.
And it's like not arguing with the energy, right? The energy is telling you that it's incorrect, right? Because you're meeting resistance as a generator. When I meet my signpost of frustration, or if you're a manifester, if you're meeting your signpost of anger, or as a like MG, you can have kind of both depending on what kind of MG you are. Um, if you're like a high, there's different types, right? If you have like the 4521, that's a more manifester type of MG, right? And just depends on how you hook up. If you're a projector, if you're feeling a lot of bitterness, right, and burnt out, if you're a reflector and you're feeling super disappointed, it's like those are the signposts for a reason because they're just things that say, wait, pause. Where's the energy being misused to get this feeling outcome, whatever it is, you know? Um, and then it's about just being uh, like a alchemist of the energy to like pause and honor it, and rather than arguing with it. Like my kids should just take a bath. They should just take a bath when they should just do what I tell them to do.
Yeah.
You know, now you're arguing with reality. Like rather than
Right.
arguing with the energy or reality, it's like, okay, that's my signpost. Let me like pause. And like that takes a
So
little bit of spaciousness to be able to do too. So
no, totally. And I hear you. And I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this to because, again, those that don't know, you have background in, I mean, I don't know if you, now is the perfect time for you to mention that you have background in behavioral therapy and family therapy, I believe it was. And so
yeah.
all of this, along with human design, comes into play for you. And the golden question, which I'm sure I'm not the only one asking, but other mothers too, is how do you distinguish a line between trying to honor them as much as possible and then like letting them get away with like not getting disciplined properly and then not getting the thing done? Or like, I'm not sure if I'm phrasing this properly, but how do you differentiate between
Like how do you have
honoring and
boundaries?
throttling boundaries? Okay.
Like, is that what you're asking? Like how to have boundaries within
Well,
being
yeah, like
correct?
let's say every day we should shower. Like let's use the perfect example of showering. Every day it's important and you're teaching the child and depending on their energy, you either teach them to inform or to respond. But like the child still doesn't want to, it doesn't cooperate with the energy of wanting to do that. And so how do you like kind of put the foot down because you have to you have to bathe the baby. So like
Right, right.
how would you at that moment kind of parent and at the same time honor the child?
So I would say, okay, first caveat is I'm a third line. So I learn most when it's through experience, and I have experience with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have education, you know, in all of the adolescent. So I have some like almost like I view it as my 2D wisdom, but my like real wisdom comes from that age group that I'm in. So it's
Right.
like, it's just getting, for me, it's getting creative. It's like, okay, if there's resistance, first check is like, am I approaching this as myself? Am I trying to, from my mind, sitting on the couch going, they need to take a shower every day and like worrying about it and being like, I'm gonna
Right.
make this happen. This is how I'm gonna make it happen. Like now I'm making decisions from my mind. I'm not in response. Instead of being like, okay, like I'm responding to, they were just outside playing, their feet are all muddy. It's evening time. It's the last of the time to be outside. It's time to take a bath, right? So now I'm responding to the situation rather than, you know, because whenever I would like sit and think of something that like my mind pressured me to do, like it would always meet resistance, right? Because I'm
Right.
coming at an energy in the incorrect
It's
way.
not, yeah, and it's not like authentic for you at the moment,
It's
even though
coming
it's what
from
you're
some
thinking.
not self
Yeah.
thing, right? Like, oh,
Hmm.
if I'm a good mom, then my not self of like my open heart, I
Right.
have to prove that I'm a good mom by like making sure my kids are doing these things that say I'm a good mom or whatever
Mhm.
the not self pressure is, right? It's like anything coming into my mind is like coming from one of my open centers, my not self. And then it's pressuring me to go take action, right? And then it's going to meet resistance. And then I'm going to feel frustrated because I'm a generator. That's my not self theme. So like, so then I started to like, okay, rather than driving my life by my mind, responding. So am I in response? And then when I'm in response, it's like, okay, like with that, it's like if I just give him an option, I mean, he takes it. So, and if to make bath time fun, it was like, okay, well, maybe I need a new toy. It's like, hey, I got this new toy, Roar. Like, I'm informing her, I got this new toy, right? And Thad, do you want to try it out in the bath, right? Like, whatever the thing is, like, if for that my age, it's like, if there was resistance around a bath, it just like, okay, how can I make this novel or fun or like something that they're like, I want to go try that, right? Now there's
Right.
no resistance around it because it's just like in a flow at this point where I
Right.
just like inform and it's like it's a flow now. But if I was in resistance, because there was times where I did meet resistance, it was always like, oh, okay, well, I'm initiating this from my own like worry. And then how can I get the energy flowing in the correct direction? Then it was like, okay, how can I get creative in my solutions about this, right? Like I don't have experience with like teenagers, right? But I would be like, okay, well, like how can I make this something that they like want to do, right? Maybe like um it would be like, do they like music or like what, like what do they want in the shower experience? Like, how can I like, I don't know, like a creative way. I always like I always try like to go around the resistance rather than like straight in and force and control and like, you have to take a shower because, you know, I did talk to actually when I was a therapist, an adolescent, he was like 10 or 11 about like hygiene and smell and like how that's received because he would come into our sessions and he would smell, right? And I'm like, okay, well, like that's going to affect his ability to be like social at school. So it's just like
Right. Right.
meeting that being and talking to them about it. And he never came into my office smelly again. I don't know. It's just like, but it wasn't like a forceful or a shaming or like a just helping bring awareness to certain things, like and not through shame or force, but just like awareness and like how that benefits them and like how, I don't know. So I don't have the
No,
lived
yeah, it makes
experience for
sense.
the older kids, but I have just the
I think
toddlers.
a good rule of thumb would be to like always try to maybe inform as best as possible because like you're saying informing even though it's not natural like everyone can benefit from it and if you don't necessarily like obviously your parent as a parent you'll know your children but if you're working with children that are not your own and you're learning them or like they're coming to your office for a therapy session or whatnot like informing would help you like get the person on board at some level or not. Do you find that like when you're talking to people whether they know it or not, their wisdom speaks for them when it comes to the energy. Like you kind of have an idea, like, oh, that must be a manifestor, or he must be a projector. Like, do you find yourself kind of like seeing people living it?
I do
And by
feel
the way, I'm so sorry. I think we got to figure out if my doggy is a projector or a manifestor, or how I'm going to speak to him. Because of course, while I'm sitting here, he's
do you have
chewing
his
up.
birthday?
I do October 25th, and he
Dude,
was
you can look
born,
it
I
up.
think, in the afternoon. I could
You
one
should look
second.
it
Let me
up.
just bring him back.
You should look it up.
I would love to.
It'd be fun to
And now,
know.
since we mentioned
You
him,
could
his
even
little
see his gates and how he hooks up to you. He's so cute. So
he
precious.
is chewing
I
up
love his
a
little eyes.
storm.
He has such
He's
like
the most precious baby. Your little boy. You want to say
he's
hi?
huge now because
Yeah.
the last time I saw him, he was a little
He was
puppy.
so tiny, he was.
Yeah.
But
Oh my goodness.
I think the table's halfway chewed up while
Is
I was having so much fun. That's why I kept looking that way.
is
I'm so
he
sorry.
a is he
But
a
yes.
French
So you
bulldog?
French, yeah.
Yeah, no. I love them. They're
They're
hilarious. They have
they're
such
hilarious. They really are.
funny, cool personalities, like all of them.
They their personality is huge. So I guess going back to the question is do you find yourself like oh look that person's a manifest he seems like a
I
manifester
definitely
because
have
I
my
do it.
guesses, and oftentimes they'll be confirmed. Like, especially with little kids, because they're so like naturally like, I don't know.
They don't have all the junk. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I've even guessed with like my grandpa and stuff because I'm like, just though it's because like if it's a manifester, you're gonna meet resistance when you try to like give them like when you try to like when you're not informing, and he's a
Yeah.
manifester, and I like love that. I just was like,
You're
yep, of course
sandwiched
you
in
are.
between all so many
I
manifestors,
know,
your baby, your
I
mom, now
know.
you're oh my gosh that's awesome.
I love you guys.
A lot of stuff to I feel like they can be intense. Like in my experience, when you find one, it's just like because they're impactful, I guess, and they're like, "Whoa,
I
too
love
much
you
for me."
guys. I don't know. I don't know if I've like, do I know manifestors that I don't like? okay, this is how I view you guys. I view you guys as powerful and like soft as heart. Like you have like a softness inside of you that's so like, I love it. I don't know, even Raw, like who had the game shot, like he has a soft in there that's like he's there for the kids and like, I don't know, like there's an
Yeah.
innocence almost to the manifestor energy
I
to
can
me.
hear it in him too. Like sometimes I hear it and it's like his voice doesn't always sound like like what's coming out of him. And it's
Yeah.
just so interesting to see that. But you know, one thing I always remember till this day, because I have had the blessing of being like, of meeting you before that, and then after, and now with your beautiful Aurora. So all of these stages of your life. So when Thad was born, you said that you didn't want to that you wanted to get to meet his energy before reading it. And I thought that was so beautiful. I get emotional just thinking about it. And so I want you to kind of like chime a little on that and what that meant for you, because it's so true. It's like you're seeing this soul for the first time that came from your portal into existence in your timeline. And you're honoring him fully before you figure out with whatever it is that we have to understand about him. And so can you tell us about your experience with that and how it worked out for you?
I
And
feel
for
so
that, how it worked out for that.
for both of them, I mean, I looked up their design pretty early, but I didn't study it. I just knew like the type and the authority, so I could have awareness of that. But I didn't want to like really study it. And of course, I spent time with them before I did, but I didn't really want to like study it and like get in my head about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just wanted
I
to
love that.
respond to what is, but
That
at the
was so
same
beautiful
time, and
too.
even now I'm like, I kind of want to like go back and now that I know them so well, like now I'm like curious about things. I'm like, I kind of want to like look at certain things. I also feel like I'm more, I don't know if objective is the right word, but like my mind has less power now. Does that make sense in terms of like, yeah, a lot,
That's the
a lot
goal,
of
right? It's
things.
like letting your ancient body to decide and help you get to where it is instead of the mind. So that's like
Because
actually
it won't,
beautiful.
yeah, like it doesn't affect how I would be with them energetically. That's still going to
Mhm.
be driven by my authority and my response. So it's like, yeah, just having those like pieces of awareness and stuff. Because there are things that are helpful. I mean, there's a lot that's helpful about knowing that just the type and the authority and their triple split, knowing that little piece. It's like they take a while to process. Like Scott is hilarious because he's a splenic being, so he's like so quick. And I'm emotional and I'm split. He's a split also, but like so I take a while. Like and I feel like I take a long time for just a split emotional being. Like I don't know, I just do. I always have. So I kind of feel like okay, that makes sense that you guys came I'm your mom because like they're emotional and triple split, which they just need a lot of time to process things. They need like I give a lot of like when we're changing activities or like I don't know, I just give a lot of like 5 more minutes, like 10 more minutes, you know, I give more like awareness of like something's gonna shift. If we're like taking a trip somewhere, like I'm just reminding them like a lot to kind of like
I love that.
bring it so they can process it really. And I don't do like the quick, which like that could be something as a parent where it's like if you know yourself and you know you're a quick processor, your single definition and your sacral or authority or splenic or something, you move very, very fast. So it's like your kids might be slow. So it might not make sense to you because it's like, why would they need time to process this transition? Or because some kids aren't going to need that, you know, some kids will be quick as well. And they're like the splenic beings or whatever who are maybe a simple split or like not split at all, you know, single definition. So it just depends on like their design. But yeah.
Right. What about the moms? Because and I'm pointing to moms because usually it's like the
Yeah.
maternal energy in the child's life, but of course this can apply to the dads as well. But
Mm-hmm.
like, what about if the parent is a non-emotional? And we
Mm-hmm.
know that in a family circle, if there's one emotional, it kind of overrides and kind of rules the space. So how do you, or how, what can a parent that is a non-emotional help manage and honor the energy that's going all over the place when it needs to?
So one of the main things with like being someone who's not non-emotional, being with other people who are emotional is like one, just understanding that you amplify that wave. And you can be a force that like amp sends it back amplified and it like Or you can be the wise, open being who's like feels it and just lets it kind of ground and run through, right? Like anywhere we're open, we are taking it in and we're amplifying it. And so we can like send it back out like charged. And then it's going to get sent, it's just going to like escalate. Um, and also too, it's like, okay, I may be feeling their emotions at a 10 and they're only feeling it really at a 5, right? And so like I don't need to freak out with them, right? I like so then it's like if you are open emotional, breath work is like it's if you're a pregnant woman like who has open emotion center, like the most important thing for you is like learn how to breathe because that's what's going to get you through your pregnancy. Ra talked about this actually, because like
Right.
you're gonna have either your emotional system hooked up by like your partner, the nurse, like your midwife, or whoever's with you, your family, like whoever's present for that birth, unless you're alone and there's no transit and whatever, or your baby. You don't know the design of your baby, right? So he was like, learn
Which
to
I
breathe.
know affects it, right? For sure. Yeah.
So breathing is something that is interesting because it actually affects your ability to ride the wave, right? And so for emotional beings, we have the wave, like we don't control the wave, right? We experience it. We're it's built in. So we're like used to it. Like we know how to ride the
Right.
wave in a sense and we can get
Right.
better at it. And comforting environments, like whatever's soothing to us is going to help us get through it. But for non-emotionals, it's breath. It's like really getting your breath work, like whatever the like I loved that quote from Yogi Bhajan where he was like one breath a minute. Like he's like, if you breathe one breath a minute, like you can like it can take you out of any emotional state that a psychiatrist can't take you out of for decades. Like, why are you
And I've
suffering?
tried the Kriya, the one,
And it's
that
challenging. And at the same time,
for
if you
sure.
can practice it to where it is actually a resource for you when you need it, when the emotions get hot in your family and when it's going haywire, if you can be that, that's the wisdom of the open emotional is to be able to kind of be like a grounding rod, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
for that emotional energy to not send it back amplified. And that's like the wisdom of the open center eventually is to like be able to do that. And it takes time because like you have to also deal with like Ra always said, look at when he looks at a chart, he sees the baby, right? So it's like an open emotional baby. And we talked about this too in our like mentorship, but it's like they come into the world, say their mom has an emotional wave, like that can feel like pain in their body. And so
And I remember that was the word we used when we were in the mentorship. It like feels like literally poison. Their liver
yes,
couldn't, something in their body couldn't process the emotion. So it was
yes.
very difficult. Yeah.
So like that's the conditioning starts for them when they get here, you know? And so they're always kind of there's an association almost with like that as like pain, depending on the parent, depending on how they were able to deal with their own emotional wave, like right? Like it's like, and even if so, it's an energy. So it's like that being no matter what, if you're an open emotional, it's like you're like almost you're like life path, your karma, your whatever you want to like think of it as like to learn to breathe, is to learn to ride the not even to ride the wave, to like let the wave run through you, right? And like a down out. And I feel like that's true
Mhm.
for me as a being with like my spleen is like to be able to allow the unwellness in a space to just like clear out and to like not take the fear or the unwellness, you know, like whatever, but to be able to recognize it. Um, and so we all have it in different ways, right? Like the things that we're learning to deal with.
Navigate. Mhm.
Yeah, but definitely because the solar plexus is the newest awareness center and it finishes development in 2027, right? It's like our like spirit consciousness, and you see that growing. You see like have we talked about the telepathy tapes? We did a little bit,
Yes.
right? So
Which
yeah.
we should definitely touch base on some more because I feel like the more people understand and like can relate, empathize, and kind of like tune into, the better because it'll give these children and the new wave more of a like a hug. Like I get you, I feel you. We're in this together, and so I would love to touch on it if we can and we have time, because
Yeah.
I think it's important to for sure.
Yeah, I feel like yeah. So just any open centers, you're amplifying that energy to go back to that and like just complete it. It's like you're amplifying that energy. So awareness first. and then figuring out what is my breath that grounds me, what breath, like Kundalini has 1,000,000,000 different things you can check into. 1 minute breath is one of them, but that's a challenging one. Like, and it takes, it's not easy,
Yes.
but there's so many, and there's so many, like Kirtan Kriya is such a simple Kriya that anyone can do. It's
Yeah.
not as focused on the breath, but it does bring like a stability, and it gets you a rhythm, a pattern, right? And like,
Do you think Breath of Fire would kind of also help like the like that?
I would say breath of fire is really good at clearing, but it's definitely more of an activating breath. So depending on
Mhm.
what you're needing,
Got
but
it.
that
Okay.
can be really good to move the energy out, right? When it's
Totally.
intense, or like, the like anger one, or whatever. But like left nostril breathing, right, is going to be that kind of more parasympathetic, like relax, rest and
Got
digest.
it.
If you are feeling depressed, you do right nostril breathing and it will be activating, right? So it just depends on like what you're needing. But that's all available to like look up online, is like, okay, what's a Kundalini breath work for anxiety? What's a Kundalini for emotional overload, or whatever, you can look up.
It would be great to have like a website or something with a resource of like, okay, I'm feeling this type of way, and you click this, like almost like answer the questions and figure out what you need. And so
I think that
feeling
exists.
sad and angry and
Maybe
depressed, everything highlighted, like
it might exist. Maybe not to that same extent, but I'm
just like
sure you could
even
ask like
totally.
chat or something, chat GPT or something, like, what is a Kriya for my depression or my
Well, this,
anxiety or whatever? There's
yeah.
something for everything.
I remember when we did like one of our first Kriyas together, I just realized it's like when you practice this, you literally have like a first aid kit for your spiritual awareness. Like you're feeling a certain type of way, or you're addicted to the constant thoughts that go over and over about, I don't know, something as imposter syndrome or anxiety at work. It's just through your addiction, Kriya, or like you're feeling a certain type. It's just all this stuff is available. And it's such a this is what I think of when I hear Christ consciousness time is like all these tools available, like so that your soul can pick. You don't have to do how anybody else does it. Find the one that works for you, make your own concoction, and then make it work. And so it's
Yep.
all available. And of course, we have to use discernment because I'm sure there's a million things out there that may not necessarily be for the best. But kind of if you tune in and you use your energy and your human design and you understand what's resonating with you and what feels true, then you find it. But that I love that you're saying that, especially for a person with an open center, that they don't have a consistent access to that energy. A good rule of thumb or something safe to do is just go back to your breath and remember that this is not your energy to continue on, and just step off when you're ready, breathe through it. You are an anchor and wisdom for the time. And it gives you hope at that point because you're like, I don't know what
Hmm.
to do usually. And then now you have this tool, like, no, I know now what to do and I can do it beautifully. So
Yeah, it gives you that
super,
gap almost, like, so you can
yeah,
respond to what is. Like, yeah, we're not all generators, but we all are here, and in this form is a form of response to life.
right,
That's true for
right.
everyone, right? Like how we respond is different, right? Like projectors aren't like recognized and invited, right? You follow the urge, but it's still a response to life, to the energy that is, right?
Totally.
And so, yeah, it's like if the emotional energy is high, like what is the thing that you have to have it before that moment? So if you don't have it in that moment, develop one. Find your, like you're saying, the one that resonates with you. Like, I think I told you this story, maybe. Like I definitely shared it in like one of those 40 days, probably, because I had been doing, in all of the Kundalini Kriyas, you're usually doing an inhale saying Sat and an exhale saying Nam, which just means I am the truth, or truth is my identity. And you could have any mantra any two word, or like any like thing that you're saying on the inhale and exhale that you have built a relationship with that means something to you on a like truth resonance frequency. And I remember I started using that in situations where I would be uncomfortable, and I would usually try to like distract, like waiting in a line. So such a simple thing, but like waiting in a line, like I would usually be like, oh, let me like get on my phone to like not be uncomfortable. And then I remember I just
Right.
started to like use the breath and doing sat on the inhale, nam on the exhale, and how like empowering that felt. And then my husband and I, we went and we were going scuba diving, but we missed the class where they like take you in the swimming pool and teach you how to use the scuba gear, right? Like
Oh my
just get
God.
used to using it. And they were like, we don't have time to do that, but you guys can still come along if you want. And we were in like in Hawaii, so we were like going to this like cove to do it. And we actually went down to a point where you can't, like you wouldn't be able to get to the surface, right? So you like actually need, it could be life or death, right? You need to
Yeah.
like actually.
You depend on the
So
breathing.
my anxieties as we got in the water, open spleen being, I'm like, I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna die. Like, and I remember like going under with it. And then I remember coming back up and being like, I don't know if my gear's working. Like, I can't breathe. And I like remember like kind of having like a panic. And he was like, he checked everything and he was like, no, everything's fine. He's like, you just have to calm down. And I was like, shit, okay, let's do it. Now's like the time to practice. And so I just was
Yeah.
like, he was like basically like giving me an option. He was like, either you coming with us or we'll just leave you here at the boat. But like the train's leaving. And so I was like, okay, let me see if this works. So I paused and I closed my eyes and I just started breathing
Sat
sat
now.
on the inhale, nam on the exhale. And I did that for like a little bit. I felt my like nervous system like
Love
calm.
this.
And then I like tried it again. And because I was calm, I was no longer like out of breath. I was no longer, it was like, and we had to go swim with sea turtles. Like it was awesome. Anyways,
Magical.
and I felt so like proud of like being able to like get beyond that like struggle or hurdle or challenge or whatever. So, anyways, having breath, even if you're not, I mean, I'm an emotional being, but you know, like having something like that as a resource can be so empowering because like the breath, I don't know, the breath is magical. You know
Totally. And I love because
that.
I feel like so many times, like even at the gym, I've been on the treadmill, like out of breath and like I can't do this anymore. And like I'm just sat numb. And it just gets you. It's just such a powerful, I mean, it's like universal frequency syllable or sounds that just like put you into the right mindset. And for beings that are like aware and that are noticing these things, they have there's this little chip of like um belief in it too. It's like you're putting all your
Totally.
hope in them too. And so I feel like that helps as well. But so breath for the projectors, or I'm sorry, for anyone with emotional, open,
Hmm.
or non-emotional beings, or open centers, anything else that you can think of that can help maybe an emotional that's like feeling a little too much, or like in their wave and it's overwhelming them and they need to function. Like, what could you recommend them doing for them?
I mean, I always kind of go to the breath, even as an emotional, just to be like grounding myself through the experience. Like it depends. Am I feeling what kind of emotional? Maybe this will help direct it more. You can
So
say
let's
different
say,
ones too.
okay, so I actually the pressure gates on the root center, like you
Hmm.
know that there's like when they don't reach, there's this like depression or like
Yes.
melancholy that comes with the pressure gates. And so you totally have zero control of that. And it's just like
Hmm.
it ticks off. And so how do you guide someone through those? Because I do feel in my experience that they hit a little harder than your regular emotional wave. Like it has like a
In
different
terms of
feeling to
depression,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Like because it's like you're the pressure from the center to like push up and it never meets unless you're probably with someone in the space that helps you
Hmm.
channel create the channel. But it's just it has a strong, you can tell like I mean I can try like to pinpoint what it is and where it's coming from. And so it has a different energy that it's a little harder for me to digest. Whereas if it's like my emotional wave, I can tell I'm like, okay, I'm going through an emotional wave, just like the other glasses are on. Let me process things and breathe through it
Yeah.
and be
The other glasses,
aware.
that's so good.
Yeah, I remember that for sure. And so I feel like there's this again, there's like the energy that comes with the emotional being because it happens all the time. So you have the built-in tools to like maneuver that at times. But
Hmm.
then there's the depression gates or the pressure gates that you're hanging in. It's like a really uncomfortable place. And so
Hmm.
does breath or like what kind of what can you say to like reassure or like help and navigate through those moments?
Let's see. Let me share my I mean,
Yes.
I randomly just have my chart. Can you see this?
Love it. Yes.
I just want to point to the gates that you're talking about. She's talking about these 3 channels down here. Can you see my cursor?
I can see all of it. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So like when you have either a full channel or hanging gates down there, there's like there can be a depression that happens, and it happens in different ways depending on the channel, right? So like the 52 to the 9 is like it's collective and it's logical. So like that's something that works in terms of the logical collective process. Like it's here for mastery. It's here to like go over something, experience something so many times that you finally reach like a mastery with it, right? So there can be with the 52 like a depression, or the 9 it's like a depression of not knowing what to focus on. Not the 9 like not being able to have the energy to like focus on the details from the 52, right? So like depending on that, it's like with the 52, it's so all of these, it's always going to come back to being correct in the bigger picture and how you deal with them, because it's like, okay, me having the 52, like as a generator, like I need to be in response to have the correct things to focus on so that I don't feel that sense of pressure and depression from the pressure of not
Yes.
having something to focus on that is correct, right? The correct use of that energy. I mean, mine's inconsistent with an open root, but it also can be amplified, right? And then with the so it always is kind of coming back to like the larger picture of making decisions as yourself, right? And then it's very fulfilling when I have that thing that gets me to sit in that stillness. Kundalini yoga, right? Human design, like those things really get me to focus, and it's really satisfying focus for me. So it's like coming through your response. I'm going to give a general of these, and then we'll go into like the deeper piece that you're really talking about. Okay, so then the middle one is the 360, which is mutative, individual. It works on a pulse. So like, yeah, the logical collective is not working on an on and off switch. So this one is like building to it's the place where everything mutates. Mutation gets a bad rap in the Western scientific language, where it's like we think of it as like, oh, it's mutating, it's bad, you know, but like in human design, it just means like evolution.
It's
It
like,
means
yeah,
growth,
it's like, yeah, it's the what you're aiming for, like when you
change.
change the way you do things, like, yeah, totally.
Yes. So it's mutative, meaning it's new, it's change, it's, you know, and that the ultimate like origin of all mutation is kept here. So that's a lot of pressure. Like it's a lot. And
It's
like
actually the
it's,
one I have hanging. I have the 60, it's hanging, and
I
that's
would
where I
say
feel most of
yes, I think, and it's so 60, it's limitation, right? So it's like, and there's a pressure, it's building because it's a building one, right? Like because it's waiting for that time when the pulse is on to release. It's like holding all this pressure, like, you know. So
it.
like 360, I like to think of it though, like it's okay. So like the pulse, right? We both experienced that. You have the 8-1, I have the 4 through 23. So like the pulse is on or it's off. We either have that clarity, and that you have that clarity, that direction, or you don't. I have that like knowing, or I don't. It's like it's on or it's off. And while it's off, it's not that things aren't happening, it's that they're not in our awareness. It's that we don't know that they're happening. And we're in that weird limbo of something's coming, but I don't know what or when. And there's a pressure building, right? And especially when we're talking about the 360, that's a pressure center, right? Because the root is like the most powerful motor. It doesn't make it to the throat for directly for a reason, because it's just like pure, you know,
Power.
adrenaline power. So when the pulse is on, it's like you then make a leap from where you started when the pulse turned off to where it now turns on. It's like that's the mutation, right? That's the moving from not knowing, not having clarity, not knowing what's going to happen, what's going to emerge, to then the energy of that emerging. And you have a defined root or no?
Yes. No, actually mine is open. But
Okay, so it can be
I feel like
amplified.
totally. And I feel like that was such back in 2020, I had this it was like a ping from the universe, how a manifestor would probably get it, but that's what I feel. Like literally, like it just dropped in my brain. And I could not decide for the life of me to get this project done. And I had it here and I looked into it and I researched everything with the mind. And I was like, no. And it's now 2025. And last night literally is when I officially, that's a lot of nights sleeping on it. Literally, it was like just what you described, like that leap, it just happened. It was perfect. And so that's a long time to
That's a
sit
long
on a
time.
energy of like waiting because of the unknown and like all the moving parts that are out of your control for it to fall into place. And so I feel like it's just loaded with like, especially for manifestors, that they're like, okay, we're going
Yeah.
this way now. And so all that pent up energy is, I feel like it was a stuck loop, and I had to bring a lot of awareness to it, but it was like a lot for me to handle. And so that's why the question came from like, what do you like? And of course, I know you're going to finish the third one before you answer, but I'm just so curious.
Well, in a way, when you're talking, what I hear is your experience of awareness and living as yourself and just experiencing the leap that does occur. It's like almost that is part of being able to go through that because you kind of then build the trust with it. Like I
Right.
know I am like gonna be in this weird pressurized on, and I don't know what it's like to have that specific pressure from an experiential place, but it's like also too kind of like, oh, that's what that is, right? Like you were just saying that. It's like doesn't I don't know if it will make it easier. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it's like, but okay, we'll talk more. But okay,
Yes,
so the
totally.
four so yeah, so that's individual, right? And um individuality pushes everything forward. Like, I don't know, I just see that it's like that any format energy is going to affect the rest of your design because of
Right.
how important formats are. So it's like, no matter what I do, like, okay, so I'm like, here as cross of explanation, that is like driven by my being still and focus, like being still and focusing, right? So it's like,
Beautiful.
that's always going to be a big part of it, which is probably why I love like meditation, Kundalini, things that breath work, like things that like, add to
That
that.
bring you in and like help you
Yes.
process. No, totally. That makes complete sense.
So then we have the 4253, which is also collective, but it's not logical. It's abstract. It works in cycles like the abstract process. And when you're in it, you don't really know what the purpose of the experience is. It's not until you are done with the experience and you digest it. And like, so like, whereas logic is like, we're trying to master this, the cyclical thing is like, we're trying to close the cycle. We're trying to complete it. And the only way to complete something is to enter it correctly. Although, and it doesn't mean that you even complete
Like the
it, right? It depends on
generator.
what your design
Yeah.
is. But like,
Yeah.
even if you have the full channel, it doesn't even necessarily mean that you're the one completing the specific thing that like you entered. It's just like someone else might, but it's like, it's how you enter it. Did you enter it as yourself and correctly, which will lead to like how it can complete and how you can exit that experience so that you can like digest it and get what you're supposed to get from it. And the frustration, the deep like depression that can come from this is like things not being able to close, things not being able to complete, or just repeating the same cycles but not feeling like you're actually like able to get from the experience what you were supposed to get, right? Because you exited incorrectly or you entered it
Right.
incorrectly, right?
Right.
From your mind or whatever. So that's like super important to the abstract process is like being clean in the way you enter and exit. I mean, that's true for everything, but like that's really powerful and important for that abstract collective.
It gives me the generator vibe of like when they enter incorrectly into something, they could be like the greatest quitter, and like they when they get
Yeah.
really difficult, then they just like, okay, it's not for me because they entered incorrectly. And so I don't know
Yep.
why it gives me that
It
same
well, it is a generator channel.
right.
So like, like, did you enter the thing correctly as yourself? Then you're gonna have the juice to make it through it being difficult and still be able to like close the cycle. And it's never like the experiential way, like we talked about that. Like it's like never what your mind thinks it's gonna bring you. It's always like you don't know what you're getting when you go in. My mind loves to be like, this is this, this is where it's going. And then now I like love to laugh at that because I'm like, probably not mind. Like, but we'll
Yeah.
see whatever it will bring, it will be correct. So
Yeah.
it's, so yeah, the format energies are going to affect everything in your chart. And the best way to like not have them result in depression, even though they still can be difficult to sit on, is to be correct. That's really like the key piece is being correct, right? Because it's like, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy.
Right. Or that it's going to see and wait and see the full course. Because for a manifester, I guess something that brings me comfort to know is that same thing for manifesting generators. They don't necessarily have to stay the whole way through once they like decide to do something. And so whatever the
Mm-hmm.
energy could be that you're deciding to put it in. And so you don't have to like keep it there the whole time. You have like that peace of mind that you can step out when the energy is not there for you anymore. And so
Yeah.
um
I
but that's
would,
a tricky
yeah, I'm
one
like,
for me.
now I want to know more the experience of like one being a manifestor or having any manifesting channels because that's so different. It's like really a very powerful, like to like, to the throat. So it's like a motor to the throat. So it's like so different to sit on something, one, but even just, yeah, those format energies, yeah, they're
They're
intense.
tricky for sure. And I feel like since we've started studying this and like gone down, everyone goes through their own rabbit hole in human design. And so when I met these between the arrows and the format gates, I was always like, whoa, what is going on here? It was always just like the thing that the 5-1, I want to know more. I want to know more. What does it mean? Like how do I feel it? How do I, it's all these thoughts. And so I do feel maybe perhaps because there's a little resistance because I don't understand them fully yet, and I'm like still living the resistance from it. Maybe that's why I it doesn't flow as
Like
naturally
what,
for me.
getting in
But
your head about it, or what do you mean? Like,
oh, totally, totally. Like
yeah.
I just feel like it's the mind that just goes off because there all these feelings are coming up, and instead of me just naturally like sitting back and saying it's an emotional wave like I do for the emotional wave,
Right.
I feel the format energy come up, and it's just like I don't like it. I don't like it. Fix it. Like deal with it. And it's just like there's a lot. And so I'm wondering, does the
Well,
breath work probably?
open
I mean,
root,
it could work. Yeah, totally. Yes.
open root, right? Like it's a
Getting
pressure
off the energy.
to get the pressure. It's like, what do I need to do to get this pressure off? Like,
Right.
how do I get this pressure off? Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, then it's like, okay, well, actually, like, how do I um tolerate it really, I guess, is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
and you're the mind, like you can hear the mind running, right? Like, I don't know, like,
Totally.
and then it's like, oh, okay. And I don't know that,
No,
I don't think there's any quick fix to that. Like, I think you just,
no, it makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. I
it's like one of the,
I
open root
huh?
quick fix. I'm just laughing because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't think there's a quick fix, but it's like, yeah, open root, of course. Like, what's my fix? How do I get this fix? Like, you know,
I
I have
have
that too.
the
So I know that well.
No, totally. And I don't, I know you are familiar with this because I've shared, but for people that are listening, like I love Michael Singer. I am a total fan of Michael Singer and his work. And it's like literally Kundalini and Michael Singer are the ones that keep me floating and breathing and getting through things. And so he talks a lot about like sitting in the seat of self and like just observing everything that's happening. And so I think that when you're in that seat and you're learning how to get it going, like all the feelings are overwhelming because you're just so aware of everything that's happening. You're not like choosing the distraction. You're not choosing to just like, oh, let me ignore it for a little while and just do this. Like, no, you're like sitting with them. And so the format energy gate, like the format gate, or in this case, the 60, it's just so strong in it's like a
Hmm.
pattern and it
Hmm.
constantly comes up. And so being so like present for me, it's sometimes like very difficult to kind of just like look away from it and just like look at okay, it's like this is my energy, let it pass, it'll run its course and stuff. It'll bring its lessons, I'll learn from it and whatnot. But it's just tricky because even being aware, even through the breath, it's just like
Yeah. Well, and as you're saying that, I'm like, well, also, okay, Pluto was transiting the 60th gate. So talk about like you were experiencing, let me like, what is the transit? I want to like plug it in right now so we can look. Okay. I don't watch the transits like a lot. I do sometimes. I just follow my authority on it. Sometimes I don't care to. Yeah, so Pluto's moved out of it, but I think it's going back in it at some point because it goes like, yeah, so it's in the 60th gate next. Why isn't it showing on my chart? Oh, well. Okay, so it says August 20th. It's going back into it. But so what's
What does that
interesting,
mean?
it's just like it's like, okay, so Pluto, like death, rebirth, truth, psychology. Um, and we're in a huge like Plutonian, we're ending a huge Plutonian cycle from when the start code on the 41st gate like entered like Pluto, and then we're wrapping up. So we're going back to the 41st. So it's like a total complete, we're completing an entire Plutonian cycle and of getting to the truth, which is why like it's such a like
There's so much
blast.
going on.
Yeah, so because like Ra's like we're like that's the era we're in is like what is the truth? Who are we? What are we? Right? So that think about human design coming in. Anyway, so yeah, like that's the pressure is on to get to the truth. The pressure, the 60th, like it's all in there. That's the end of it, right? And so like having that as an activation, I'm sure is very intense. I don't know what it means. It's going to be differentiated for everyone, but it's like when something is getting highlighted in the transits and you have it in your chart, like it's just like it's highlighting that aspect of you, right? Like
Right,
everybody's getting that energy, but it's going to affect everyone differently, you know?
right. And I guess it's the perfect time to pivot to what Ra was saying, like these are the times, you know. So what do you have like a chart of what our 2027 uh new beings are gonna look like? Have they created something that looks like it? Or like
The rave chart.
yes, yes.
They do have a rave chart. I don't have it. I don't have access
Okay.
to it right now quickly, but maybe that's something in a
Okay.
future thing we could talk about the
Love it.
raves and
Yes, totally. Like the telepathic children and the way that things are like
like
the
we are
universe,
telepathic. It's just
all of
something
us.
that we haven't necessarily developed because we still live in the cross of planning, and the cross of planning is kind of holding up the old seven-centered way.
Mhm.
Because it's the cross of planning is about our structures, it's about our institutions. And that was the seven-centered way was like planning, structure, strategic, like have all these things
Right.
in place and like outer authority and like authority over and like make decisions from your mind and like refer to an expert, right? So like that way is kind of leaving with the cross or it's not going to be supported anymore, basically. And so Ra
Right.
always said like the last of the seven-centered way, even though we've been nine-centered beings, no one alive is a seven-centered, like that way has been physically gone in terms of like the vehicle. It's still like that old way is still kind of like held up in us, which is why we experience so much dissonance trying to live in a seven-centered life. This is why people are on so many medications and not healthy and not doing well. And it's like we blame it on the person when it's like the reason you feel angst, anxiety, depression, like it's because we're not being ourselves. We're not in resonance with our truth. We're like living in a way that is not actually aligned with like the truth of what we are. Isn't that like crazy to think
Then
about?
those that are trying to get to the better path are meeting resistance from the ones that are not even willing to entertain the thoughts of like becoming that. And so it's a tricky
Which will
time, but it's
always be the
also like
case,
such
but
a yes. But I feel like it's such a beautiful time to like again, we have all these resources and there's so much like free will to decide with what feels right. And there's a lot more people that are, I mean, the times are for sure. Like I feel like everyone that has a sense of an awareness of it can feel at some
yeah.
level that things are crumbling and at the same time are growing and changing into this beautiful place where everyone's just gonna see each other for who they are and respect that. And so I'm excited, Cass. I'm honored that we're here
I
on
mean, it's
this
going to be a
together
crazy ride, and there will always,
for
I don't
sure.
think it's going to be a collective thing that everybody gets. I think most people aren't going to ever in our lifetime or whatever. I mean, I guess I don't know what do I know?
Right.
I don't know what will happen. But it doesn't seem like everyone would. in our lifetime, but the movie goes on, you know, and on and on and on. And Ross said that there's a time of peace coming and it's going to last forever, like for a very long time. We won't be here. We won't be in these forms anyways. Maybe our crystal will be here incarnated, but like this form, this you and me won't be here. So like that also reminds me of like kind of what Yogi Bhajan would say about Kundalini yoga, that it was here to help us through this pressurized gray period before what they called the Aquarian age, which was like the age of peace, right? And enlightenment. And it's like, oh yeah, like we are here to we're built for this time, right? And like to even just have the awareness of that, like is a blessing. And then it's just like, how can you live in a way that helps other people find it if that is their truth to find it? Um, and that this form doesn't last forever, and that even nothing's permanent, like the suffering for any human alive, it's not permanent, and it's not, and yet the life goes on. It's not like it's like you exit with something, right? You enter with something, you exit with something, and we
Absolutely.
don't
No,
understand
totally.
what
And
that
it's like,
is.
and even like just having it in an individual level, like I feel like when you do what's right for you, you end up doing what's right for everyone around you. And like whether that's, you know, in a way that everyone can tell, or if it's just an internal experience, energetic experience for the person. But I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, I'm from the Dominican Republic, and there are places in the countryside that these people don't even have access to like proper internet connection. And there's no way that they're going to find their human design chart or know what's going on with it. And it's just still at some level, there's this wisdom that comes through away from the brain and the mind in that case, and just like coming through as this wise being of, we're not going to be here forever, but leave the place a better place, you know, leave the space you're in a better place, and so on. And so I do agree that yes, there's a lot of people that may not have access to this, and there's also a lot of people that may never know what it would feel like to evolve into the next chapter. But then there are others that are just like the anchors that we know very well, that you can find it sprinkled everywhere in different corners of the world. And so
Yes.
I'm kind of like excited about that. My hope, my motivation is hope. And so I feel like every time I'm losing faith or like getting scared or anxious, I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter because we're putting the work in. And if we're doing our part, everything else will start to fall into place. And it's just, it keeps me going because times can get scary. Transitions are hard. And I feel like that's exactly what we're experiencing, this massive transition. And so, what a gift to have Kundalini yoga and human design and Michael Singer for some people.
I
Do you have, and I guess that would help people, like a resource for you, like a page where they can find, are you feeling called to like have something for someone that's curious, or guidance to where to go for?
Not right now. My mind would say yes, but my intuition and my gut is having a no response. I think just because like being a mom to
Want to be a
2 and
mom.
4-year-olds, and it's just a lot, and like it's full
Yeah.
on my plate. But I do
Yeah.
want to connect, and I do want to share, and I do want to be of service in the ways that like I do have available, but I still don't have available energy for more. So I'm
Okay.
trusting that, even though, of course, my
Yes.
mind's always like, yes, and I get excited about it. And then I'm like, let me actually feel if the energy is available. And it's not right now, but
Again, that alone, when you say that, and I'm sure someone listening to it, again, that just you saying that, being yourself, living correctly and following your body and what it's telling you, the wisdom that of what it's telling you to do, that alone is going to change the person that's listening, because they're like, wow, look where she's coming from. And at some level in their being, it's going to also transmute for them, and they'll find another answer because they're coming from that place. So again, when we do the right thing for ourselves and we're acting consciously and like connected and knowing and wise with our being and our body, like I feel like everything else falls right into place. So
I feel like what
you
you were
already know
saying.
though. Mhm.
Well, I would feel like what you were saying with like people in different like parts of the world, like not needing to have access to something like human design to be like living their design. One, because there's serendipity that exists. There is, and also I feel like in areas where there's less maybe conditioning in the structures of the strategic, like there can be spaces where maybe there is less conditioning in certain ways from like a strategic lens to like, you know, have a certain life or to like strive for something. Like we have a lot
That's
of
so true.
yeah, we have a lot of
Comparison, do this, do
conditioning to
that,
be
like look like
consumers
this.
here, you
Yeah,
know? And so there's different things and where people can be open to that and like it will be correct for them or it won't. It doesn't necessarily mean like where they live or if they like follow human design, but like always we're in the neutrino field and we all your consciousness affects to Mars, right? Okay. So it's like not like, you know, like and beyond,
yeah,
right? Of
totally.
course. So it's not just like it has to be even someone in your orb necessarily. And then there is a collective, like we've talked about that too, like where it's like, you know, you have a certain amount of people who are um sharing that like shared consciousness and then just vibrating at a certain frequency of like awareness just like a awareness and attunement and it's not even like a high vibe like whatever that whole like thing but more of a like attunement
Right.
attunement to the truth that comes through all of
That,
us in different ways in
that,
differentiated ways.
totally. That felt very true when you were talking about like we all have the gift of like being able to communicate at some level in that way. And so I thought of it because it happens with you all the time. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, let me text Cass or let me think of texting Cass, and then your text comes in. And so I feel like as you're
Yeah.
saying, there's like certain little groups that are just like on the same little.
Yep.
I remember someone, I
Yep.
can't remember who said it actually. They were like, imagine a building and everyone on the first floor is connected, everyone on the second floor is connected, everyone on the third floor. So you and I are on whichever floor, and it
It
just
sounds like
never
fractals.
fails.
Like we're on the same fractal. Of course we are though, because like anyone in your life, like you know them for a reason. You have a
Totally.
connection for a reason. You see them for a reason. You have a relationship for a reason. Like the human won't always know why. I mean, you could feel certain things, you can have certain knowings, but like your mind isn't going
So,
to necessarily, we don't really know the whole story because we can't, because I don't think we can understand it in this form. Like our consciousness, oops,
mhm.
came into this form but it's much bigger than this form. It's much more vast. It's connected to God, all that it is. So it's not gonna like, you know, I don't know. We're like, bloop.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
It's like a tree. Like a tree has the same personality crystal as we do, but has a different form. So it's not gonna communicate that. Like,
totally.
you know, it's different than us. So, but that doesn't mean there isn't wisdom in the tree. And when you touch the tree, that you can't gain some
And
of
you
that
feel and you get
feel
all
and
of it.
connect with that sentient being because it's there, right?
And their
Um,
close sleeve, that feels like a hug.
I know. That's why
I
forest
remember that
bathing
from
is
the
just so
mentorship
good.
too.
Being in nature for us opens spleens,
Ah, for sure. Well, I
or anyone
think
really.
that wink, wink, the manifestor in me is wanting to make sure that you feel totally in response to when you're ready to start some kind of Kriya together or an online group that we can tune in because your energy is so, it's like a blessing. You're not, you're very aware because I've mentioned this before, but I am so grateful to all of the blessings and the teachings and how generous you've been with your knowledge and your soul's gift to the world to like be able to bring all this information and like connect it in a way that people feel seen and validated and you do it in such a beautiful clean way and the right people always will follow. And so I will forever be grateful to you for all of the ripples you have created in my life to the point of like all the people I've told about human design. It's like that's not just like because I came up. It's like there was a route that took me to that point and you were that person guiding. And so um all you do is so appreciated and so magical. And I am wholeheartedly the first person signing up for whatever meditation or whatever Kriya you do or anything, just like we used to, because it is such a gift. It's been such a gift for me, truly. So just know that you are a blessing to so many people, especially me. You've been such a good friend. Your family is so blessed to have you, and the people around you too.
I feel the love. Only I can't say it in such an eloquent and beautiful way.
It's just I feel like it. it's just the feeling. I just want to make sure that you know and you hear it, because as a job of informing, it's not
Thank
just the
you.
feeling, because I know you feel it, but you have to hear it too, because there's a reason why you came to this world with all this, and there's something, that a compass that's guiding you, and then there's the reassurance. Like, maybe if someone says you're doing it right, you feel you need the reassurance from anyone, but you do, and I would love to give it to you because you do deserve it. So I'm here for it. I am totally a fan, and I would love to, if you open anything, whether it's a Kriya or whatever you feel called to, I'm there. I'm the first one.